Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lianne. I'm talking to you from outside in the backyard, and you actually don't have a very nice view of the backyard because these are the steps. That's the back door. So it's surprising to be able to sit out here. It's what is it? It's the 15th of April, I think it is. And normally I still think that the ground is frozen, but last few springs in Nova Scotia have been pretty mild, and then June kind of turns into soggy boggy, and then we get back to our summer. So my garden usually is a June-July garden. So I'll bring you on a tour sooner or later. I'm bringing to you today 3 different read aloud books that we've been enjoying as a family for the most part. 2 of them are books that we're reading with the kids. The first one is Beowulf, and it is the new translation by Maria de Vanna Headley, and she is a poet, and she's brought this book to modern kind of rapish street language. She's got beautiful alliterations. Her imageries are really quite astounding. She does not veer at all from the storyline. It's not a retelling. It is as much as it is a revisioning of the poetry and the rhythms and sometimes the rat-a-tat-tat of a battle, and sometimes the sort of quiet moments between as people are journeying or in the cave of one of the monsters. So this is a Nordic tale that is bazillions of years old. Of course, that's an exaggeration for those of you who don't understand exaggerations. And we encounter Beowulf. You know what, I just don't remember, the first time I read this, I remember the dragons being a lot more present, and he has to go off and kill a dragon and in order to get more rewards and save some king who can't manage it himself. And then Freya comes up, and Freya's a pissed off mom of the dragon that was killed. So I just remember those being more prevalent when I read it a long time ago. This time there's quite an awful lot, or I'm paying more attention to the battle scenes and the treasure troves and the exchange of treasures and sort of the geopolitical part of things that I had not clued into the first time I read this, which no surprise, when I was in university I was like skate through things. I gotta read this, and this. And also I had pretensions of being very well read, so I thought that if I read something, and whether I understood it or not, I had accomplished the necessary checkbox. So this time what we do is on Zoom. My daughter in Ottawa and my son in Halifax here, we just all get into a Zoom call and we take turns reading it, and then talking a little bit about what was our favorite phrase or what was our favorite image. And so it's really been quite fun, and the kids have brought some background research to it. If they have read something from the previous Sunday, they will look something up or go to their history books or what have you, and bring it back to the family. So we've come to know a few more details about Jutland and the trade routes, and so it's been a fun book from that point of view. So I really recommend it. Now, Beowulf, there's been many translations, but this one is definitely really clear language, and the poems and the sound choices that she makes they're very smooth, they're not archaic, they're very contemporary. So it was really a real sweet read. Okay, the one that we're currently reading with the kids on Sunday nights is something completely other, but also about dragons. The Reluctant Dragon by Kenneth Graham, and it is illustrated by Ernest H. Shepard, and the illustrations are just really wonderful. And the dragon is just so, I don't know, he's kind of sort of like the completely disinterested uncle who's just looked at the world and said, "Feh, I've got better things to do." Don't know if you've ever seen the Disney version, which is really charming, and one of the few Disney ones that it hasn't been all pastiched up in order to meet the viewer's needs. It's very true to the book. Of course, we don't get the sound effects or the we're just about to jump into the battle scene of the knight and the dragon and the young boy in order to keep all the villagers happy. And I'm just reading the text quickly, and yeah, there's a lot of good language around it, but we don't get the actual sound effects. Well, it turns out that our son has got just the greatest ear for voices, so it's great when he reads his sections. We try to give him the dialogue pieces because he's been able to bring in some really wonderful voices to this reading. It's not very long. It's let's do, are there no page numbers on this? There are no page numbers on this, but I'm going to say, 50, 60 pages. We first encountered this when our kids were little, and we would watch it a number of different times. It was a great short little video. And so I think if you were to do this as a read aloud with young people, it's probably a week's worth of reading, depending on stamina of the kids. But the adventure is so wonderful. The dragon is so cleverly drawn. The little boy, who is the navigator between all the protagonists, can get pretty impatient with the adults around him because they keep setting him chores to do, and he's like, oh, can't you do anything for yourself? So it's a really wonderful book. And what it turns out, I didn't realize, this is an excerpt from Kenneth Graham's larger collection of short stories. This is the only sort of standalone short story in it. The others are more linked, and I'm hoping to pick that book up and see what that works like. I think it will be a charming book even if it doesn't work as a read aloud, but I think Kenneth Graham, now in case you don't know, he of course is the author of Wind in the Willows, isn't it? Wind in the Willows. Yes, it must be. Oh, how can I not know that? The Wind in the Willows, there we go. And Ernest Shepard has, done many illustrations for, and did Winnie the Pooh. So that's, if you're familiar with the line drawing of Winnie the Pooh, you may see some crossovers. So this has really been a strong read aloud for us, really charming. The one that Steve and I are reading on our own, we've taken a piece of advice from Lianne at Literary Diversions, who I'll link below in the doobly-doo. She and her wife, Helen, like to do read-alouds while one or the other is cooking. It seems that Helen does most of the cooking and Lianne does most of the reading. And that's kind of the way things work in our kitchen as well. Steve does most of the cooking, and I do most of the moaning about the dishes that he's making dirty. But he's a great cook, so it's worth every dish. But what we've started to do is read The Midnight Folk, and this is by John Masefield, and it is a continuation of The Box of Delights, which is a Christmas story. And here I'll just read the background that they've got here. Kay, the young boy, is engaged in a thrilling quest that begins each night as the clock strikes 12, taking him into the enchanted and dangerous world of the Midnight Folk. Pirates, highwaymen, talking animals, and a gang of witches led by none other than Sylvia Daisy, who is just a terrible, terrible governess that he has to endure. In the end, it is the ragtag team of old toys that rallies to support Kay and save the day. And Kay is hunting for a treasure. This governess has taken away his toys. She's more interested in how he conjugates his Latin verbs. She's just a miserable sod. And what do you call that? Not a governor, the foster parent, lost the word, guardian, Sir Theo Pompous, is also completely uninterested in Kay as a young boy. So he does really not have a nurturing environment. We're about halfway through. It's kind of slow paced, but it's always, wherever we pick it up, it's very charming. And there are illustrations in it that are, let's see, I should have grabbed you one. There are just some that are very striking. Doodly-doo. Doodly-doo, a castaway. And then there are others that are a little more imaginative and, what would you call it, more almost like woodcuts, singular. This is it's a quieter book. The adventures are very much of 1930s imagination of what an adult's reminiscence of what it was like to be a child. I don't think that this this author has particularly captured the voice of the child. I think it's still very much sort of an adult top-down, although the ingredients of adventure and swashbucklingness and the animals that speak and so forth, that certainly would be in younger kids' imagination. But I have a hard time reconciling some young person conjugating Latin verbs at the same time as believing in talking mice. So maybe that's just takes place in the 1930s, so maybe it's a leftover from the Victorian education at home piece. I'm not really sure, but I kind of find the expectations of the child's voice to be a little out of sync of what I would imagine a child's voice would be like. So the banging you're hearing in the background is taking place just across the road. We live on a corner, and the health center is putting on an addition, which means this is where I go for massages. It's so handy. So anyways, they're working on banging away on things, and probably in about 2 months I'll be able to trot on over and get my neck massaged, my lungs helped. So that's it for me for Read Alouds this time round. I've been reading a couple of fun books that are more witchy and adventure kind of things, which I'll bring to you soon. And I hope that you all have a great spring and that your reading adventures and dreams continue to come true. Bye-bye for now.